I'm gonna be honest with you. Plan B is for like it's usually for the pull-out heroes. It's for the pull-out heroes that are unsure about their performance. If you're a pull-out god, listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. Listen, I'm not only the influence you. If you pull out god like me, you never doubt. You're the Chad. You know what the is up, right? You're a pull-out god. Okay, but for people that think that they're gods and then they do the thing and they don't think they did it right, then they do the plan B thing, and that removes that level of lack of confidence.
Thank you.
It's not a cult.
Hey, my name is Stephen Bonnell. Online, I'm known as Destiny. I debate politics on YouTube at youtube.com/Destiny. Today, I'm surrounded by 20 Trump supporters.
Rob is not a pull-out god. He's not even close to my class.
My first claim is that Donald Trump is unfit to be the US president.
Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, pleasure to meet you.
All right, so you say that President Trump is unfit to take the presidency. Why is that?
I would say that one of the most important values that we have as Americans is our form of government and things like respecting the peaceful transfer of power. I think that being able to concede when you've lost an election is really important. So I would argue that the events that took place leading up to and on January 6th are in and of themselves, among a whole bunch of other actions, immediately disqualifying for the office of presidency.
Okay, so Steve, let's talk about January 6th. What happened that day in your mind, and why does that disqualify President Trump?
I think that Donald Trump was unwilling to accept the results of the elections. I think that he fabricated slates of electors in order to have his vice president pick him to be the winner in the Capitol building on January 6th, even though he didn't have the votes or the evidence to support it. I think that is a wholly undemocratic thing. I think that it is destructive and undermines our democratic process of governance.
Do you attribute the violence on January 6th to Trump?
Largely, yes.
Okay, why?
I think that Donald Trump had been stoking the flames a year before the election, saying that the election was going to be rigged. I think that Donald Trump stoked all of these claims basically with no evidence, and then I think that he continued to stoke the flames while fabricating them, that the election had been stolen, that there was voter fraud, and then he invited people on the day of the certification, telling them that their election had been stolen, their country was being taken from them, they needed to fight like hell, or they were going to lose everything. He knew what he was inviting them there for. He knew what he was asking them to do. He knew, yeah.
He also told them to go down to the Capitol peacefully and patriotically, right? What time did protesters first go into the Capitol? What time did they first enter the Capitol?
I think it was around 10 a.m., I think, is when the Capitol grounds were breached.
No, 2:11 p.m.
No, to be clear, that's not true.
2:11 p.m. is when protesters first entered the United States Capitol.
There's the grounds that were secured outside, though. Okay. Those grounds were breached while Trump was still giving his speech at the Ellipse.
Okay, let's talk about the entrance of the Capitol, because that would be more severe in your mind than simply walking onto the property, right? Can you concede that point?
Probably not. I think they were all really bad, but yeah.
Okay, well, entering the Capitol, let's just mark that point. 2:11, what should Trump have done at that point?
As soon as the Capitol grounds themselves were breached, he probably should have put out a statement on social media telling people that they needed to go home instead of telling them that Pence had failed them and basically encouraging the violence to continue.
So what if I told you at 2:38 p.m.?
I like Destiny, dude, but
telling them that Pence had
I don't like when things are said like that.
Failed them and basically encouraging the violence to continue.
Basically encourage. Well, I'm just saying it's
so what
not,
if I told you at 2:38 p.m. President Trump tweeted, "Stay peaceful." He tweeted that to his supporters, "Stay peaceful."
He tweeted
27 minutes later.
He tweeted that after Ashley Babbitt, I believe, had already been shot and killed.
Okay,
so what does it mean when you tell your people to stay peaceful? They're not being peaceful. That doesn't make any sense, right?
2:38 p.m., 27 minutes after.
I will admit, I don't really know much about the January thing. You know what? I don't really give a fuck about it. I'm sorry to tell you. It's brain dead. I know I'm brain. I know for a fact that my brain is out of my shell, okay? I don't give a fuck. I'm sorry.
The Capitol protesters had entered. He said, "Stay peaceful." Okay, at 3:13, he said law and order. At 4:17, he posted a video saying, "Go home now." So what on earth was he supposed to have done?
Everybody that did wrong things on that day, their brains is even more out of their shell than mine is. I think that's the way it is. These people are fucking stupid as bricks, and they did really stupid brick thing. The brick.
I'm not happy about some of the violence that we saw on January 6th, but let's put it in context.
Well, wait, you just said it. You just said what he should have done. The tweet that he did at 4:17.
No, that was a video. That was the third call.
It was it was the first time that he told them to go home.
Stay peaceful. 27 minutes after the Capitol protested entered the Capitol.
After Ashley Babbitt had already been shot and killed, they weren't being peaceful. Why are we saying stay peaceful?
How many
at this point, Pence had already been.
How many
doesn't matter. This is a red herring.
How many?
Hold on. Do you acknowledge that people broke into the Capitol?
What do you mean by break into the Capitol?
As in smashed, they entered it illegally. They broke down
100,000
barricades.
people were there that day. How many were charged with crimes? 100,000 people there. How many charged with crimes?
Do you acknowledge that people
How
broke
many
into
were
the
charged with
Capitol?
crimes then?
How many people in the BLM riots were charged with crimes? This is a red herring.
No, it's
How
not.
many people?
You said they're violent. How many were there that day? 100,000. How many were charged with crimes? It's the largest FBI investigation history. 1,553
It's not relevant at all.
have been
It's
charged
not
with crimes.
relevant.
How
It's
can you
not
say they were
relevant.
all violent?
It's not relevant.
How can you say they were all violent?
The first people
Okay.
that got into the Capitol, did they
Is
break in?
January 6th your only
Did they
reason
break
why he's
in?
unfit?
Wait. Did the first people into the Capitol break in?
Is January 6th the only reason he's unfit?
Are you unwilling to answer that question?
Is January 6th the only
Are you
reason?
unwilling to answer? You can say yes, you don't want to answer it, and then move on because you know the implications are terrible for you. That's fine if you want
The reality
to.
of the situation is
The reality.
Guys, a question to a question, whatever side you're on, is brain dead. Okay, I think if the question isn't a gotcha, I think it's okay to answer it. And if you rebuttal with another question, you're just brain dead.
The situation is people
What
broke
is
into
the
the
number
Capitol.
one voter
They
for
delayed.
voters? What is
They
the number-
delayed the certification
what is the number
of the
one
vote.
issue for
They
voters?
delayed the certification
What
of
is
the
the number
vote.
one
Did they
issue for
not?
voters?
It doesn't.
the vote was certified.
This guy's dumb.
Was it not certified?
Was there a delay in the certification?
Was there not-
Was
was
there
it
a
not
delay in the
certified?
certification? It
It's
was
absolutely
because the
certified.
National Guard showed up and they kicked the people out after Donald Trump was forced to tell them they were going home after watching them
is-
break in for 3 hours
what
and
is
do
the-
nothing. By your own
Let's just
admission,
have a
they said.
let's have a productive
No, we're
conversation,
not having a
Steve.
productive one because you're not answering any of my questions.
going. Okay.
Yeah, I asked you a very simple question. The first person that got into the Capitol who wasn't allowed in, how did he get in?
They walked into the Capitol.
No, they broke in with a riot shield that he's stolen from an officer.
Okay, and that makes President Trump unfit for office.
Do you acknowledge that that happened? Are we living in the same reality right now? Do you
There
then acknowledge that
there
that
was
happened?
violence on January 6th. I acknowledge that. There's
Oh.
100,000
Sarah
Oh,
making a
flags?
specific claim.
1,500.
Do you know what 1 + 1 is?
I do.
What is 1 + 1?
I think it's 2.
Okay, good. Okay,
I think.
we can answer a
But
question.
math
Okay,
is
let's get- wait.
racist. Math is racist,
The first person that got into the Capitol building, how did they get in?
You are arguing that Trump is
Hey, let's
unfit.
try this. Do you know what 2 + 2 is?
I
4. Who was the
think-
first person into the Capitol building? How did he get in? Why not just
Listen,
say he broke in?
Is your entire argument about January 6th?
Guys, listen. I know I'm gonna sound dumb. It's something that to me, it's hard for me to care about this, okay? Because if, let's say that guy had done something worse, had broken with let's say a bomb, does that make him the guy but worse? What if 2 people had done something crazy or multiple bombs or multiple murders, whatever? Does that ramp up in? Well, it's tough because if the action or the intention is one thing and what people do is another thing.
6, yes or no?
Well, my
it's
biggest
tough.
argument
It's
right now is
tough.
that
I don't have to
conservatives are
tell you. It's
delusional.
like-
They don't exist in the same
Because
reality.
then you give powers to dumb fucks. Then at that point you give the powers to the dumb fucks. That's so insane. Think about it then. What if a president says one thing and some guy is just, yeah, fuck it, I'm gonna do some crazy shit. Are they liable? Well, dude.
Why must you attack
Pause.
75 million voters?
Pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Hi, how's it going? How are you, Dusty? Pretty good.
So,
Yep.
that guy wouldn't have gotten voted out if he just answered questions and just slowed down the discussion. Speeding up the discussion doesn't help anybody. Whatever.
You don't think Donald Trump is fit for office based on January 6th.
That guy lost.
However, we have to admit that January 6th was compromised. There were patriots and there was Antifa. There were people
No.
who were, yes, there were
there
actually.
were not.
I have video of it.
Okay, we have a live fact check. Hold on. Thousands of Trump supporters violently forced their way into the U.S. Capitol building in order to stop. Wait, chat. Thousands were inside? That does not sound correct at all. That sounds like some. Thousands were in the building. Huh?
Of it. Don't argue with
What?
Don't argue with me because I actually have video of people who were on the
Okay, for this to be true, at least 2,000 humans had to be inside the building. Oh my God. Thousands.
So we're going to see some of what our witnesses saw on January 6th.
Holy shit. This had to be the largest amount of mental retardation per capita in one singular place in the history of the world. It has to be, right? Chat, is it, you think? Is it against work for that? Is it against work for that?
Capitol building. It's time to start fucking using them.
Start making a list, put all those names down, and we start hunting them down one by one.
Hassan tried to beat that record, but it was a close. It was very close, but he lost.
Cities, your own counties, storm your own Capitol buildings, and take down every one of these corrupt motherfuckers. So we fucking need to have.
Okay. That's fucking insane.
Early.
I want to see people in the building. A 12-hour video of this shit. Okay, well, I go back to the video.
On the ground, who I have video of people in Black Bloc getting dressed up in MAGA gear.
Okay.
And
it's
according
1420.
to
First of all, you don't have the video, but let's see how long.
I
this
do
takes.
have the video.
Who
And
was the
according-
first person to break into the Capitol? Was it Antifa?
It was an Antifa person. Yes, it was.
You're wrong.
And it's actually, if you read Andy No's book about Antifa
don't need to
Unmasked,
read Andy
it
No's
actually
book.
talks about how they use the premise of a broken window to then allow other people to come in, because people are a mass, they're a group, they're like
Well,
a
look at minutes.
herd of cows. And when there's a broken window, they don't see anything wrong with walking into a building if the window's already broken. They use
I thought
this
conservatives.
Wait, what? What?
for people to come in, because people are a mass, they're a group, they're like a herd of cows. And when there's a broken window, they don't see anything wrong with walking into a building if the window's already broken. They
I
use
thought
this-
conservatives were the
they
party of
use-
law and order.
but they
If you were
use this-
outside somebody's house and you saw somebody breaking,
This
you think you could
example,
walk in
this
afterwards?
example is even continued through BLM and the riots
We're not
of
talking about
2020.
BLM
But
right now,
the
although I'm glad it
pattern
took
is
us
the same.
40 seconds. It's
The
not the
pattern
same
in
pattern.
2020 is the same that happened in January 6th, where you had innocent people moving into a facility that they didn't know that it was wrong because the doors were already open. So you're already.
There was
we also
broken
have the
glass
other
on the
gentleman-
floor.
We also have the other
There was
gentleman
doors that were
that-
being broken into.
Yes, by people
Everybody
who were
knew when
dressed
they
up
were going
as
in there.
MAGA were not MAGA.
Oh,
you
okay.
have
So
that-
were all of the indictments and the convictions for
Okay, this guy's Brandon. Can we skip this guy? This is Brandon. Brother, just the context of you being there and seeing the police and the people saying no to whatever. You know for a fact, like by default, that getting in is not good.
people like Enrique Tario,
And
for
if you
Stuart
don't
Rhodes, all those
know,
people that have
well,
been directly
so then
involved,
which
all the
Ignorance is not a defense. Ignorance is not a defense. It never will be.
Video
Never
footage
has
of
been.
Which one of
breaking-
these people was his commander? Name one of the commanders of the insurrection.
Enrique Tario was the CEO of the Proud Boys. Stuart Rhodes was the
Is
CEO.
he a commander?
of the-
Is he a
people that have been in front of a number of
I'm
courts, in front of the
serious, guy.
J6 community, in front of the media, in front of the.
Okay,
there are so
pause.
many different people that are willing to testify to all of this.
Pause. You've been voted out by the majority.
Thank you.
Please return to your seats.
Hey, what's up?
So I think that, we've been talking about January 6th. I'll be the first to say that,
Dude,
and I think a lot
why-
of people here would agree that there were bad actors that day. I'm someone who comes from a family of law enforcement, family of military, so I believe in law and order, and so I do believe that there were people on that day who took things way too far, and I think most Republicans understand that. From people that I had talked to on the ground, I think that the media blew it up into
No.
something.
The whole thing is too far. Like everybody there is too far. There's nothing that's good. It's not there's something that are bad. The whole thing is bad.
Bigger than it was. Again, I'm not saying that people who broke into the Capitol shouldn't have, but I do believe that there's a lot of people who are misled. There's evidence that's coming out with all the tapes that are coming out from January 6th showing police officers were actually escorting people through the hallways. So to say that every single person who entered that building is, a criminal, I think a lot of people...
Just to be clear, that's never been my claim. That every single person entered was the building is such a boring and uninteresting. I would never waste my time making it.
Okay.
The reality was, I do agree with you on your fundamental. There were a lot of people that were misled. I do agree with that, and I think that Donald Trump was behind that misleading the entire time. The people were there because he was tweeting out at them saying, "Come here for a historic protest." It was obvious what the protest was going to be. They were protesting the certification of the vote, and what happened.
President
happened,
Trump never told anyone to break into the Capitol.
Okay, if nobody did anything wrong, chat. If nobody did anything wrong, would that protest be legal and within the confines of the law?
President Trump has always run on a campaign of law and order
No, he
and to
hasn't.
respect his police. Okay, where has he? Where's your evidence of that?
The whole plot on
getting a lot
January
of
6th
no's
was
and
to
yeses.
break
It's
the
50,
law,
50,
to have Mike
50.
Pence choose him to be the president.
If nobody broke in, nobody did any crimes, if people just showed each other and protested like any other protest, any other march, whatever, right? If it was within the confines of the law, would it have been fine? Okay, it would have been fine then. then chat, that's tough for me to have a bad sense about this thing.
At what point did President Trump tell people to break into the Capitol?
No.
To
When
do
he
what
wanted
happened?
Pence to choose him to be the president.
No. But talking about breaking the law.
That's breaking the law. The law was the Electoral
But
Count
what
Act.
you're
He wanted
saying-
to break that
no,
law.
What you're saying is that you had that he was
I'm
inciting.
brain dead, but if you tell somebody to do something that's legal, and then some people do it, and some individuals do something that's illegal within the confines of that becomes their problem. They're fucking brain dead. I don't know what to tell you.
An insurrection.
Was doing that as well, yeah.
He was inciting an insurrection and telling people to basically
People they needed
break
to
in.
fight like hell, or they were going to lose their country.
Okay,
He said that they needed more.
how does that have anything to do with breaking into the Capitol? Yes,
I think
again,
it was just.
there
So
are
then here,
bad
let me
actors.
just just to be clear. So he told people to go to J6 because it would be a historic something, a historic event. When they all got there and they showed up at his speech at the Ellipse for an hour, he riles them up, telling them they're going to lose their country, that they're trying to steal it from you, that we need to fight like hell. Giuliani was just on there before saying trial by combat. He said all these things, and then all these people, he said, we're going to march down Pennsylvania. They all marched to the Capitol.
Is there anything wrong with protesting outside
I'm
of the
just
Capitol?
asking, like, was the fact that there was a break into the Capitol, and for the first time in U.S. history, the vote certification was delayed?
Yeah,
Was that just a
that doesn't
coincidence?
make him unfit, I think.
Okay,
Was
so
that?
you know
I
what?
just want
Okay,
to know
so-
that. I just want to know that before you ask a bunch of random.
Okay, to say things that are left into interpretation and and potentially can make people do certain things, right? That's irresponsible and does make you unfit. I will agree with that because you cannot say to the people, okay, that you're a great leader when people misinterpret your word and do bad things based on your word. It makes you an unfit leader. It is what it is. Well, I speak objectively. Regardless what your stance is on this, okay? If you say something and people don't even do close to what you're saying, right? And you hide behind little wording and little bad wording, and say, "Oh, guys, I'm the greatest leader." You cannot have it both ways. Sorry.
Random question.
You
Was
cannot have it
it
both
just a
ways.
coincidence that a break-in happened and the vote was delayed? Was that coincidence?
Because people broke into the Capitol, that can't be blamed on President Trump. He is
So it was a coincidence.
President Trump
Can
has
you say that? Can you- I just need to hear you say it.
President
It was a
Trump has
coincidence.
always ran on
It was
law
a
and order
coincidence
and
then.
for people. And
So it
yes,
was a
there were
coincidence.
bad
Say it was
there
a
were bad
coincidence then. It was
actors.
a coincidence.
But moving, let's move to the
It is
certification.
insane.
No.
You understand this is
Let's
crazy,
move to
right?
the
You're not-
certification.
nothing about you
Okay,
is law and
in
order.
2016,
You think your family is
in
law
2000,
enforcement?
in 2016, I've already said that there were bad actors. In 2016, Democrats questioned the election of President Trump. Yes, they did.
My claim has never
Sheila
been about-
Jackson.
my claim-
Sheila
when did Hillary Clinton
Jackson.
concede? He's not going to answer
Sheila-
this question.
7 Democratic members of the House representative objected to the certification. Reps Barbara Lee. Okay.
No, Sheila Jackson.
Won't answer it. I'm gonna ask
Sheila
it again.
Jack-
Yeah, but we're not interpreting whether these guys are fit or not to be president. These guys are fucking randoms. The topic is whether Donald Trump is fit to be president. That is within. That is
Sheila
not,
Jackson
that's whatever.
and two other Democrats had spoke and said that they were going to question and to hopefully delay the certification in 2016 when President Trump was elected. And
When did Hillary
and we
Clinton
look-
concede?
And look,
The
and
answer
through
is
all
that
this
night,
time-
right?
and
The answer is that
and
night.
through
Was the
all of this
certification
time-
of the vote delayed?
Okay, so
the
there-
answer is no, it
there
wasn't.
are questions.
Was there a riot at the
Okay,
Capitol?
I'm
The
from
answer is
Ari-
no,
I am
right? So
from-
none of
I
what
am
you're
from
saying is
Arizona.
relevant here. Yeah.
I am from Arizona. I was in the middle of the elections in 2022. I've been there. I saw what happened in 2020. There are serious questions about what
No,
is
there
happening.
aren't. There are
But
you think there
okay,
are
okay,
because
hold on,
Trump
hold
has
on.
brainwashed
Okay,
you
I'm
into
from
believing it.
Arizona.
I
I've
don't care
worked
if
in
you're
this.
from Arizona. I don't care that you worked in
I've
it.
worked in politics.
Every single
I
court case
understand
on
how
this
is.
failed for good
Okay,
reason, right?
It's failed on standing.
No, that's not
Yes,
true. A lot of them are
yes,
tossing
it has
evidentiary,
fa-
number
it
one. And
has
number two,
failed on stand-
wait, do you agree
Hold
that
on,
standing is
hold on.
important for a
Let me
case?
get to my point. Let me get to
You
my
have
point.
no point.
Yes,
You're fabricating
I do.
information
No,
in
I
real
am
time in
but
4K.
There are
they voted them out, man.
That's what they broadcast in.
Okay, pause.
serious questions.
Guys, yeah, the thing is that these discussions go to meth mode, and nobody will out meth Destiny. This is not gonna happen. You don't out meth Destiny. So how
You've been voted out
don't
by
go
the
to that.
majority. Please
Don't go to
return to
meth
your
mode.
seats.
I'm way behind you, so I just see the back of your head.
Okay,
I'm
hi.
Sartre. Nice to meet
What's up?
you. I just have questions. I like to ask people questions. I'm interested in hearing how people
Oh
think.
no, not this,
So
please.
when you're talking about the insurrection on January 6th, what would you describe during when Kavanaugh was elected to Supreme Court and you had all the protesters at the Capitol, they were banging on the Capitol doors, they were screaming, they were yelling. How do you feel about that?
I would have to know the specifics of the event. I don't recall any proceedings being delayed. I don't recall there being a top-down call from the president to lead these.
You don't remember that
particular-
they had to stop the congressional meetings because people were banging on the door and being so loud and trying
How
to
long
break
did they
into
stop
the
their
doors?
proceedings for? If they did, then
sorry?
that's bad.
Yeah,
wait, just
I
to be
agree.
clear, wait. just to be clear, this is the difference between me
But
and
that doesn't reflect bad on the main leader or president or candidates. It reflects bad on the people that are being fucking stupid. And you can make that argument, but the topic of the conversation is whether Donald Trump as candidate or president is fit for that job. Not some fucking randoms, dude.
Okay, is that if everything you're telling me is true?
I'm a female. I'm a female.
You're
so that's
Make America
obviously-
Great Again.
I'm a female. Yeah, I just put it on. I had a cowgirl
That's the
hat
difference
on
that I'm
before.
talking about. I don't
so
care
I'm
you're a woman or
I'm a
not.
female and you're a male, and it's almost like you're attacking me because I'm a female.
I'm
Are
not
you
attacking you at all.
anti-female? Are you anti-female?
Half the time I am, okay?
I-
What I'm
okay,
saying right
at
now,
least you're
what I'm
honest.
saying,
At
what I'm
least
saying,
you're-
I'm very
at
honest.
least
But
you're
what I'm
honest.
saying, yes, I am honest, which is why I'm saying that if this happened,
Sweetie, can I ask you another question?
I didn't even answer your first question.
No, you said that you didn't know the specifics. That
Yes,
is
but
an answer, so
what
I'm not
I'll
going to
tell you is
force.
that
I'm not going to
what-
force you
you're
into
not
a yes or
forcing
no.
me. I promise you can't force you to do anything.
Okay, I'm not.
If
so that goes
it
the same
happened
way.
as you
I have
said, I
another
would say
question.
that's
I have
bad.
another-
And you know what? The
I
people
agree
involved
with
should be
you.
arrested.
You're
If you're gonna try this, you need to smoke some meth. I don't think you should do any drugs. If you're gonna try this, you have to be on
yelling,
meth.
and I
Yeah,
agree
I'm
with
telling you
you.
now. I'm telling you now. You'll never win this.
I
You'll never win
can't
this.
I'm glad you are projecting your voice because I couldn't hear you before.
Okay.
So I can definitely hear you now.
You could do the maybe hair behind your ears. Go ahead.
You want my hair behind my ears?
If it's inhibiting your ability to hear me speak, yes.
Well, actually, it's because you need the bottom of your. In
stop
medical
this!
fields, the
Okay,
bottom of your
okay.
tongue needs to be clipped. So that's the reason why you have a lisp when you're talking.
Okay,
Anyway, if you want medical advice, I can do that, but it's better to be private
I'm
on
good.
that.
If
So
I needed
I have
a
another
psychiatrist
question. So we
advice, yeah.
agree that during the Kavanaugh trials, if people were trying to break into the Supreme Court,
It would be a
that's
bad
bad.
thing,
I
yeah.
agree with you on that,
Uh-huh.
sweetie. So, and the next thing is, I have a question for you because you also brought up the border and immigration, right?
Well, I
what would
haven't,
you
but
say?
I'm see you want to,
Actually,
yeah?
you did. They can play it back. So anyway, what would you say if the Biden-Harris, we have the Biden-Harris administration right now, if our border was filled with neo-Nazis with tiki torches, what would happen?
What?
You'd probably sell a whole lot more lighter fluid. I don't know. What do you mean?
No, if
Okay,
our
pause,
border,
Pause. Sorry, you've been voted out by the majority.
What is this hypothetical? What?
Hey, you.
Micah?
GG.
Okay, I want to talk about the alternate slate of electors and how historically that has happened before
It
on the
hasn't.
Democrat side. Yes, it
hasn't.
has. In 1960, JFK against Nixon ran an alternate slate of electors in case it was overturned in Hawaii. It was eventually overturned in Hawaii, and so then those electors were certified, and JFK won the state.
So I'm glad you bring this up real quick because this is one of the biggest piece of shit talking points that you guys always bring up, and I don't know why. In 1960, two slates of electors were authorized by the state.
Boys and multiple slates of electors to constitute a 141 vote difference between the candidate during a recount as the Vice President Nixon certified the results on January 6th, noting it was the first time in 100 years a losing candidate announced his opponent's victory. Huh?
State legislature. Both were granted the certificate of ascertainment from the governor because they knew that it was a very close election and they'd authorized a recount, and because that recount was going to go past the some mid-December date, it's December 14th for the 2020 election, but some mid-December date for when they had to certify their vote. So they said, okay, well, we'll send in both certificates, and then on the day of the counting, on January, whenever they would have done the certification in Congress, then they can choose which one was authorized by the state legislature based on the results of the recount. Donald Trump's certificates were not authorized by any state legislature.
Well,
Do you acknowledge that? Wait, real quick. Do you acknowledge real quick that none of the 7 slates that were submitted by Donald Trump, none of those were authorized by any state legislature?
Can I answer?
You're not going to.
No, I am. No, I am.
Oh, man.
No. They weren't certified, and why? It's because fraud wasn't found. It wasn't proven in court.
No, you're
So that's
lying.
fine.
You're lying. They
Wait,
weren't
so
authorized.
you're saying fraud was found in
No,
court?
you're lying because those legislatures.
Wait, what do you say my line about?
They're lying because none of those alternate slates were arranged by the state legislatures. They were arranged by Trump and his criminal co-conspirators. None of the state legislatures, none of the state governors authorized those slates of electors.
Okay, and what's wrong with that?
It's illegal, number one, and number two.
What law? What law says that?
You have laws that are governing how you're supposed to transmit.
What law? What law?
Oh, God. Oh, please. None of this.
Do you want me to give you the specific statute?
Yeah.
So this is not a gotcha, dude. It's not a gotcha, okay? If it would reflect very poorly if you lied like this to try to get away with it, right? But it's like, I'm sure it's out there, and if it's not, then GG. He's GG, but it probably is.
Yeah.
Georgia, Arizona, New Jersey. I don't know them off the top of my head. If you
Chapter
want,
4,
so
page
that's a baseless
13,
It's not a
fucking
baseless
paragraph
claim.
3,
Yes,
2B,
Chesbro
like...
and Eastman
You can't
and
provide me a
all
specific
engaged-
law.
because I can't give you the state statute.
Yeah, if you can't give me a specific law, then why should I believe you? There's no justification for that. You have to provide evidence for that.
Hold on. On the contrary, are you claiming there's no formal process that's codified in the legislature for how to send you transmit your electoral votes? Do they just do it randomly?
No, of course I'm saying, of course there's laws that are involved, but you can't point to the specific law that says that is
I don't know the numbers.
And so your
of
claim is baseless.
It's always crazy to see that you guys will carry water. Even Trump's own people don't deny this because they know that they're dead to rights because the emails have leaked, the conversations have leaked, the Twitter posts are there that we can see from their accounts.
No.
Really, what did I just say that was wrong? What one thing that I just said that was incorrect?
You're getting upset
because
because I'm pressing you on.
No, I'm not. You're not pressing me
yeah.
at all.
Yeah, you're getting upset,
floundering.
Dude.
You're like a magic carp. You
See,
have no idea what you're talking about.
When you have to result to
it's Magikarp, not Magikarp.
personal insults, that's when you know you're losing.
You already said that I was lying.
And so
you can't name a single thing I'm incorrect about. I can name multiple things you've been incorrect about. You were incorrect.
And then now you're not letting me get a
1960.
word. I think.
I
I think you're just speaking for yourself. You're making yourself look foolish. In
Okay,
this case.
go ahead.
But okay, yeah. I mean, there's 10 seconds.
Go. Give me your hardest claim.
Again, it was for the same reason. You can compare the election of 1960 to 2020. It's the exact same thing. They did that in case their cases actually came to fraud and they found fraud in the election.
That's time. Micah, please return to your seat.
My next claim is that Harris would be a better president for immigration.
Okay, so I mean, we could say that he won that claim. These people were brain dead.
On the border than Donald Trump. My next claim is that Harris would be a better president for immigration on the border than Donald Trump. Oh, hey, what's up?
Long time no see.
Yeah.
All right, so why would Kamala Harris be better than Trump on immigration?
Because I don't know if Trump even knows what's actually wrong with the border.
He doesn't know what do you mean by that?
I think that Republicans don't know what is happening right now with the problems with their immigration system. A lot of people think that the issue is with illegal immigration. It's not. The problem is that our asylum process is completely and totally broken right now. And the problem is the only way to rectify that is to change the laws governing, or at least some of the regulations governing the asylum process. And when there was a bill on the table to do so, Donald Trump blocked it to keep the border open for an election issue. But as it stands right now, you could have the biggest, strongest wall in the world with the best guns and all the people manning it. It would make zero difference on illegal immigration. They would still come up and claim asylum, and there's nothing you'd be able to do about it.
So do you think there's problems with illegal and illegal? That's what I'm hearing correctly?
Well, it's different classifications of immigrants, but like asylum seekers aren't technically illegal immigrants, even though Republicans call them that. When they're doing the asylum seeking process and millions of people are here waiting to hear their case, technically that's all legal, which is an issue.
Okay, but why would Kamala Harris be better than Trump? You said she understands it better. I think everybody understands the issue, but I think the Democrats and Republicans, at least the establishment, they don't want to fix the issue. So,
well, but if they, so I don't think everyone understands the issue. So every single person sitting here doesn't believe me when I just said that the laws on the books and the asylum process are the main issue. They think it's just people illegally crossing the border, right? The reason why I think that the Democrats would do something is because
they're not enforcing laws on the books.
They are
people
enforcing.
that shouldn't be
they
here are
that's
here.
the issue. They're enforcing them.
Yeah, but there are people that are illegal here and they're not being sent back.
That, I mean, that's a whole other deportation.
So they're not enforcing the law then?
Well, who's they?
The government.
Which one? The state governments or the federal government?
All of them.
Well, the federal government doesn't have the resources to go in and try and find every single potential illegal immigrant in the United States. There's a whole bunch of
we
issues.
just sent how many billions to Ukraine? Like, we have the money. We can hire people. There's a lot of people in this country, so it can happen.
So the majority of, like, 80% of the aid we send to Ukraine is in the form of, like, used weapons and stuff.
Right.
But secondly, it's just a matter of, even if you say we have the money for it, I mean, we would have to appropriate the funds for it and everything else to do it. Like, it's not a matter of simply saying, like, oh, we're going to triple the size of the DHS or ICE or whatever to do it.
But so now you're saying, so you want to be tough on immigration, right? And you think Kamala Harris is going to be tough on immigration, just generally speaking. Like, she's going to crack down on it, deport illegals, send them home.
I don't know. I'm not talking about being tough on or deporting. I'm just saying that to fix the issue we have right now, which is
I understand this entire topic.
So the fix, we got to stop people coming in. So we need to
the issue is we need to stop the asylum process, or we need to figure out a way to make that better.
Right, but there's multiple things that need to be fixed. It's a multifarious issue. And Kamala Harris originally says that ISIS is the KKK.
You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seats.
Well, it's just the fact. It's just the fact that there's a problem with the asylum seeking, right? So there's a flaw. There's a loophole, and then basically he's debating the semantics of the fact that people are using that asylum loophole, right, to get in, and that doesn't make them illegal because until you can prove that it's not asylum, then they're legal. And that process needs to be fixed, is what he's saying. It is semantics because then you would say, well, that's illegal. But that's illegal then. If you were on paper, it's illegal. But it's a semantics because, well, it's not illegal because they're doing it right, but you can't tell. But yeah, that's semantics.
I'm Luke, by the way. Nice to
what's
meet
up,
you. So I just wanted to briefly talk about, you're talking about this Senate bill that failed the House. What is your argument with that? Because as far as my knowledge with this bill, it was $118 billion. That was the financial standing within this bill. Within that, $60 billion of that $118 billion was going to go towards Ukraine. Only 20...
The bill to contain 118 billion in the border foreign aid. That includes 60 billion for Ukraine and 14 billion for Israel and 10 billion for immediate aid in Ukraine. 10 billion for immigration.
I have the chart with me. Only $20 billion was going to go towards the border. $10 billion was going to go towards Gaza. $14 billion was going to go towards Israel.
So
this Senate bill was a bad bill, first off. And second off, it was just a disguising bill to give more money towards Ukraine. So you talk about that bill. That's
so just as a real quick thing.
So
this is the argument that was floated initially, but the problem is they tried to reintroduce this bill on its own, and it still failed.
But the bill itself was written poorly. Within the bill, they're going to cap what is the average weekly.
Guys, I don't know politics, chat. I guess I don't know politics. Why do they lump every bullshit in that bill? Why don't they just do it one by one? I don't understand. Why don't they slam? Why did they slam all the dog into one? So if you that makes it look like if you're against it, you're against that one part of it. But if you don't agree with most of it, then you're still okay saying you don't like it.
The immigrant.
But man, the size, yeah, I mean, I see it, chat. I see it. Yeah, I'm bricked.
At 5,000. That's still way too many people.
Do you know what it's capped at right now?
What is it capped at?
Nothing. That's why it was a good idea.
But 5,000 is still way too much. Why don't they cap it at less?
What they allowed it to do, real quick, so what they allowed it to do is it allowed it to say if there were too many people coming in, they could put a 2-week moratorium and completely shut down people that were coming to the country to seek asylum.
But
that was one thing that the bill would have allowed it to do. That right now they don't have the ability to do. They are doing their job.
These are for individuals.
They are doing their job.
These are the individuals that are not or that are seeking asylum. Do you know how many individuals that seek asylum actually file their paperwork for asylum?
Well, if you're coming here to get
it's less than half.
If you're coming here to get a slip to go to court, then they have to.
They're using asylum as an excuse. The process which comes with people that come for asylum, the easiest and most, I guess, used process, they come typically through San Diego or Arizona. They put these individuals on a freight train, send that train to New York. They house them typically at the Roosevelt Hotel. Other hotels in New York are also being used. Then they give them an identification bracelet that has a number, basically like Nazi Germany.
All of this is fine. But the reality
please let me finish talking. I'm it doesn't matter. I'm respecting you. Have some respect.
Okay, let's talk about the asylum process.
Okay.
Right? If Democrats wanted to allocate more money
Chat. What about AI? How can AI, guys? Why don't we have Chat GPT courts, brother? Like I think we need to have Chat GPT courts, whatever. Right? Have all the AI courts, whatever, to deal with all the issues. Easy. If it seems so backed up, okay, let him beat the AI.
Judges to
Why?
process
Is that
the claims faster,
Okay.
to allocate more money to border security to make sure people weren't coming in illegally, and then to be able to put a moratorium if too many people were coming in. Wouldn't all of these things help?
If only less than 50% of people that are actually coming for asylum are filing their paperwork, none of that matters. We should be starting.
How are you getting a slip to go to court for an asylum judge if you're not filing your paperwork?
What I'm saying is these people are using asylum as an excuse to get to America, to use our resources. Do you know how much money that we've spent? So there's two different types of immigrants. Two different types of illegal immigrants. There's gotaways and there's give-ups. Do you know what each one is?
Catch and release versus
no. So give-ups are individuals that typically their families are typically asylum seekers that they intentionally want to get processed through border control. Gotaways are typically criminals, which there's 14,000 murderers right now that are within our country coming through the border. Gotaways alone, which are typically criminals, we are spending $450 billion a year just to support these criminals that are coming through the Gotaway process.
Okay, so all of this is great, but it returns me back to my other question. If people are doing this by abusing the asylum process, it feels like a bill would have helped, and Donald Trump has done nothing.
Because before we can have any type of bill that basically funnels down.
I blame the system. I blame the fact that you have the bill has to be everything in one go. Dude, there's like 5, 6 things in that bill. Like, dude, my hands are tied if you say, guys, what if somebody said that you fuck your finances, okay? Here's where your money's gonna go. 100 mil, okay? Let's tell you what. 90 mil are going towards gum balls. You're only buying gum. You're gonna store them in facilities, okay? It's only gum, and the last 10 mil, okay, is gonna go to this. I'm like, well, I don't like that. We're not doing this bill. So you don't like what we're doing with the 10 mil? You don't like what we're doing now? Fuck you. Are you? Well, what's not really. I'm more against the gun balls, which is most of the bill.
Asylum versus gotaways versus give up versus criminals versus all that.
Is that
backed up? You need to have a
up?
secure border.
Yeah, but let's say right now,
that was not going to help. That was not going to help in the securing of the border.
Let's say that you secure the border 1 trillion feet tall on the wall and everything.
Okay.
Everybody else comes up and they still do the exact same asylum claiming process.
What do you mean everybody comes up?
As in, you go to a port of entry and you say, hey, I'm here to claim asylum.
I have been fact checked. Hold on. Apparently, it was tried independently and still failed. Aha. Is that independently? Boom. Boom.
If you have a closed border that has a stricter process for whoever's coming through, which one of those processes, which was extremely effective, was our Remain in Mexico Act.
So it wasn't that effective?
Yes, it was. The Biden administration revoked that act, as well as 94 executive orders that Trump installed during its administration. There was a reason that our border had a 50-year all-time low. And I want to ask you a question. Let me ask you a question, please. Do you condemn 15-year-olds being...
Two.
Yes or no?
Number 2.
Yes or no?
Number 2.
He doesn't. Do you condemn 15-year-olds being...
Obviously,
yes or
I
no?
would condemn...
Do you condemn Lincoln Riley's murderer who came in and murdered her, who was coming through an illegal got-away process? Do you condemn that?
I don't care how they got here. I would
Do
always
you condemn the
murderer.
321,000 missing children right now that we cannot find at the border?
I don't even think that number is real.
Yes, it is. It's 321,000 missing illegal children.
Do you understand?
So I'm giving you,
I'm
giving you facts right now that are presented through ICE, that are presented through FEMA, that are presented through Homeland Security.
Compassion there.
Mexico is 10 times safer than the country that they're
coming.
You
think that the border towns that are being overwhelmed by people coming to seek asylum, you think that that's
country?
Oh, there it is.
Okay,
the
pause.
Country.
Yeah,
so there's no heart for the people coming
You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Oh man.
Jeez.
No, not this guy
again.
again.
We agree that there's a problem with the asylum system. And I actually...
Well, we don't agree. I think that, but...
Well, I'm agreeing with you that there's a problem with the asylum system.
Okay.
I actually think you care. I've been following you for a while. I actually think you deeply care about this issue and how it's affecting the American people. I do believe that sincerely. What is for the tens of millions of folks who are going to watch this video, just what is asylum?
Wait, the what?
For the tens of millions of folks who are going to watch this
bro.
video, just what is asylum as a process represent to you? What does it mean to qualify legitimately for asylum?
To legitimately qualify for asylum, there's like official characteristics for it, but basically the place that you're fleeing, you're being persecuted for some characteristic or trait that we think that you obviously shouldn't be persecuted for, and you're facing like severe threats to your existence.
Yep.
And so you have to flee the country, and then you're basically coming to the United States saying like, I'm basically stateless, I can't go back to my home, like me or my family's at risk, and can you basically take me in and me become a citizen that way, basically.
That's exactly right. You're fleeing racial, religious, ethnic persecution. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Poverty wouldn't count as asylum. It's a fact. Poverty doesn't count. You have to be fleeing a particular type of persecution. If poverty is a coincident factor there, but the persecution is key.
Sure, I'm gonna hesitantly agree with you, but like let's say you're facing poverty in like Syria, where it's like a collapsed state, and it's like I can see that being different. But in general, yeah. But if you're just poor, you probably shouldn't be able to come here and seek asylum for that.
Absolutely.
I agree with that.
And so that's why 90% of asylum claims are rejected. Let's talk about Remain in Mexico. You brought up that you think it was a failure. It seems.
Yes.
Why is that?
One, I think there were a lot of lawsuits in the United States that were starting to look promising, I think, in terms of overturning it. I think the ACLU had gotten a victory in the 11th Circuit or the 9th Circuit. And then also because just the number of people that were being kept out from Remain in Mexico, I want to say the total number over, I think it was like 3 years, was like 30 or 40,000. It wasn't that many, like, altogether.
But isn't that actually a sign of its success because it was a successful deterrent? Think about it this way, Stephen. If you got people who are fleeing religious persecution and you got folks who are fleeing poverty, the people who are actually fleeing persecution, they will happily go to Mexico and wait for 6 months for their case to be heard.
I don't know if that's always the case.
Well, but
if you're fleeing and you literally have nothing, you're like a destitute family. Now you're sitting on like a border town, like waiting months and months, maybe for your.
But that's better than religious persecution in Syria, right? I mean,
it might be, but ideally in the United States, we could process you almost immediately, and if you have a legitimate claim, we can house you here.
Absolutely, but how do we keep the fraud out of the system? I thought Remain in Mexico, wherever you are politically, was a good way to do that. The idea was that if you're actually fleeing persecution in Syria or in East.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, he kind of loses that small point because he used the word ideally. Well, yes, a lot of things work ideally, but
you're in Africa, you would be 99% better off in that camp in Mexico.
Ideally, the world would be peaceful.
Where you have food, where you have humanitarian resources. That keeps the fraud claims out. And so to this bipartisan border bill, well, first and foremost, 9 Democrats, including Elizabeth Warren, actually voted against it, so Donald Trump didn't kill it. Donald Trump was opposed to it for the same reasons that many Republicans and some Democrats
to be clear, would that
were
bill
opposed
have passed? Would that bill have passed without Donald Trump telling Republicans not to vote for it?
No, it would not have.
Okay, that's completely and totally incorrect. Okay,
What's your
we can
proof of
look
that?
up.
Listen, let's just talk about the substance of it.
Well, the proof is that like it would have passed. People like McConnell, people like Cruz are literally saying like we're not voting on this bill because Donald Trump has told us to pull the plug on it. But the idea was that it was going to pass.
So what would that bill have done to deter the fraudulent asylum claims that are keeping out legitimate folks who are fleeing persecution?
Well, I think that right now the biggest there's an amalgamation of laws that make it so that because the asylum system
watch this later, Chad. After somebody, I'm moving on.
I know that if I go to the United States, even if my claim is total bullshit, I can run to a port, claim that I'm an asylum seeker, and I know that they can't process me right now, so I get a slip saying, okay, we'll come back to court in a year or two, and it's like I'm in, and you're done. At that point, you just disappear, right? But if they could process you almost immediately, you show up and you're like, hey, I'm a asylum seeker. It's like, oh, cool, we'll come talk to the judge. You're like, okay, well, me. Then the motivation to come in and try to get in fraudulently that way, I think dramatically decreases. And one of the big things that the bill helped with was providing a lot more judges that would be allocated for these things and a lot more funding for it, et cetera.
So just to correct that point, there weren't actually judges. They were funding custom officers who don't have law degrees, who are biased one way, who are more likely to approve asylum claims that might end up proving fraudulent. I think.
Wait, hold on. Who processes the asylum claims? If eventually you have to sit in front of a judge.
No. And just clearly here. Customs officers under the bipartisan border bill would be then given authority to process these claims. They don't have law degrees. They aren't judges. Judges typically kick these cases, but in this particular bill by Langford, it would actually be customs officers.
Customs officers would make the final decision on whether or not a person gets into the
And that's
country?
how you build up capacity, because you couldn't hire more immigration judges. There aren't enough people in the country.
Well, if that were true, they could just say no to everybody. Say, fuck it. Guys, today we're saying no to everybody. What? That doesn't make any sense at all.
I think you can. I think the issue is that the judge number has been capped since, I think, the 80s or the 60s in terms of how many judges are allowed to hear these claims. So we haven't had more funding that was allocated
Why
towards
not
actually.
bring back Remain in Mexico? It absolutely works, Stephen.
Because I don't think it necessarily works, number one, because not that many people were kept out. And number two, even as a matter of policy, I don't know if the idea to the country to the south, the was like, hey, listen, there's not people coming to asylum. We're going to go ahead and store them in your country while we wait and process it. Yeah. I don't know how even Mexico would feel about that. I don't know if the conditions would necessarily be safe for those people either. Because I thought that one of the claims that I heard so much from the Trumples was how unsafe all of these like border towns had become because of so many people building up there. So why would you want to stick a legitimate asylum seeker there and keep them there? Would you agree that if somebody was coming here to legitimately seek asylum and it was a legitimate case, they would probably be good to take them in and house them immediately?
In an ideal world, absolutely. But we need to also separate those who are abusing the system. Again, 90% of those claims are fraudulent.
Right now, the framework doesn't allow that to even happen. So why is he even talking about that?
So then shouldn't we increase the funding to process those claims as quickly as possible?
I think the deterrent is better in Mexico, but Stephen, let's agree to disagree, okay?
Okay.
That is brain dead.
Jeez.
So.
Right.
Okay, actually.
I know people told their ID at the door. I've watched the same videos that you watch. Clearly, people do that. Yeah, but they're just playing the game. The game's rules are shit. Fix the fucking game of the rule, because otherwise these guys they're just playing the game. What, can you really blame them?
He's been snubbed now twice, so I'm sorry. I'm gonna let him have it.
Hi. What's up? What's up?
Because technically, they're not doing anything illegal.
With the bipartisan border bill is that it only gets activated on a mandatory basis if there are 5,000 people per day crossing the border. I agree with you that the asylum process is the problem, but that bill also expands protections for asylees or people seeking asylum, the bipartisan border bill, which is a problem. I think that HR 2 is much more effective at preventing
Okay, my food's here.
like people abusing the legal
HR 2 might have been more effective from a conservative standpoint, but that bill was DOA, and everybody knew it.
because Democrats didn't want to vote for it.
Because no, I don't even know if it would have had Republicans.
Do you think that it would be a win for Democrats if they passed HR 2? Like politically speaking?
Probably not. That bill went much further.
You don't think that it would be good for Joe Biden's image?
No. I think that
really?
I would have to
Why?
go back and read it because I think that bill was way more extreme in terms of like processing people. I don't think it was a very popular
Yeah, it
bill at
eliminated
all.
parole, which I think is a good thing. There are a couple other things, like I haven't read
But
it.
the bill was DOA. There was no
But
popular.
either-
There was no
either-
chance in hell that was
Well,
passing
okay,
anything.
the bipartisan border bill was terrible too.
No,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
bipartisan border
It
bill was
terrible.
it was that would have passed less Donald Trump.
Right, but it didn't address the current issue. There's about 1,000.
It did address it. It might not. You could say it might not have addressed it adequately, but it would have been a big step in that direction.
There are about, okay, yeah, right, but the issue would have to get about twice as bad as it currently is. There's about 1,900 people who cross per day currently. Under the bipartisan border bill, on a mandatory basis, the emergency powers can only be activated if 5,000 people crossed over the border daily over a 7-day period, right?
Yeah, but then after that happens,
Right.
you can shut the border down for 2 weeks and process zero.
But you can only the bill, the emergency powers given in the bill can only be used for 270 days of the first calendar year, 225 of the second, and 180 of the third. And in addition to that, if it drops below 70% of that mandatory number, 5,000, which is about 3,750, which is almost exactly double what it currently is, it gets automatically rescinded. The powers go away.
I don't believe the powers.
Yes,
go away.
they do. Stephen,
Hold on.
read
How
the bill.
can anybody come in if they're not if they're processing zero claims?
Wait, what do you mean?
If they're processing zero claims,
Chat,
once they
listen,
It's not on the
I'm doing-
basis of claim. It's on
Guys,
the basis
guys,
of
I'll do one last topic, chat. Guys, I'm just gonna stop it. This topic is fucking brain dead.
processors. So
No, but it's just on asylum claims as well. That was the nice thing about it. We don't.
They're not even talking about Kamala Harris, which is the main topic of discussion. They're literally skipping the whole thing and just talking about like the semantics of the laws in the current system, and that it doesn't have to do with anything. It's some bullshit. They just got stuck in a loophole, which and into like a sunlock, which happens in politics like 80% of the time.
don't have an issue. State the economy.
What is this guy saying?
Economic plans would increase inflation and devastate the economy.
Probably true.
Okay.
So under the Trump administration, inflation was consistently at 2%. Under Biden-Harris, it's 5.5.
What do you think the
Triple.
biggest contributor to the Biden-Harris inflation has been?
Well, you could say the supply chain, but I would say the bills that they passed, the Inflation Reduction Act, had nothing to do with inflation. The only reason inflation's kind of at 2.5 now is because they raised interest rates. It has nothing to do with what they've done.
Okay, so
Nothing to do with
what
their policies.
was the huge event that probably triggered a ton of inflation because of all the knock-on effects from it? There was a really big event that happened in the past 5
You're
years.
referring to COVID?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So COVID happened. So if we look at Donald Trump's administration and we look at what he did, he ran massive budget deficits. He did nothing to cut spending. He did giant tax cuts, right? And he pressured the Fed to keep interest rates
Well,
low.
Harris adds like $1 trillion per year to the
Yeah, but at least they can argue for why they would have deficits, right? Because they're trying to save us from a massive recession, which more or less they did.
We already hit recession a couple times.
No, not really, no.
Yeah, by the letter of the law we have.
Okay, if you want to say that we have, then it was a soft landing at worst. Okay, but it's not.
This is the Coomer theory. It's a theory I've been working on. Okay, it's based in science. The camera pans at random members in the audience, right? She's been panned at 4 times in 41 minutes, and when the other members probably 1 or 0, maybe 2 sometimes. She has got 4. That's the Coomer theory. I'm working
Nowhere
on
near
it.
as bad as it could have been. But at least we were coming into an economic crisis they probably had to spend for. Why did Donald
Think
Trump
about it.
run massive budget deficits when he was sitting on a great economy that he inherited from Obama?
It wasn't a great economy.
It was an amazing economy. The stock markets were posting all-time highs for like 3 or 4 years before he even came into office.
And the guy even higher under him.
They did. They continued to grow, yes, but why did he have to run budget deficits to do that?
I mean, his tax cuts actually helped everyone. It helped me as a middle class person.
Of course, because he did deficit spending. Deficit spending always helps. It gives you more money, yeah. But how would this ever help inflation?
Well, there was no inflation under Trump.
Yeah, because the economy and everything in the world was growing too, right? COVID hadn't shut everything down yet.
Right.
But I'm saying that Donald Trump's administration.
Even his last month in office, though, was 1.4%. Biden can't even get that in his best.
Yeah,
month.
but are we gonna cite like the year of COVID as like these are the?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you want to be fair too, under COVID, the last few months, unemployment was terrible. So if you want to go off that too, but as soon as the country opened back up, they try to take all this credit, all these jobs that were just bounced back.
Sure, and I wouldn't. I think that's pretty stupid to say that we created this many jobs, or whatever. So I'm not giving them credit for that necessarily. Of course they would. But I'm just saying that when we look at just for inflation, everything that Donald Trump talks about when he wants to come back in his next term seems like things that would just be inflationary. He wants to tariff everything.
Well, he wants to drill more, which will
I'll watch the rest of this later. How about watch something fun for a little bit? Thoughts?
lower the price of everything.
We already are a world producer in energy. I don't know how much drilling more is going to help. But I mean, he also I don't even know how we'll have the people to drill because he wants to increase tariffs on every single product in the world.
We'll just stuff made.
Okay, you want me to watch the beanie guy? Watch the beanie guy, then we can move on. Watch the beanie guy. This guy. Yeah.
Number one, I'm a MAGA gangster. I'm outside when it comes to Trump. Have you ever been to a rally?
Yeah,
that's number one. I don't know if you book smart or if you're really outside, because I'm outside. I'm outside. And you basically said MAGAs thrive off of lies. First of all, you ever seen a Trump rally? You don't see all of the unity and love out there?
Nope, I see things saying like deport all the immigrants, and I see more MAGA flags, and I see American flags.
All right, let me ask you this. You support Black Lives Matter?
Matter?
Black Lives Matter only when media put it out. That's number one. Trump is bringing a lot of unity and love. You support burning and looting. That's what you support. And it tripped me out how you could support someone that just want the world to just go crazy, burning and looting. And I heard you say something earlier that's crazy. You said you hate America. Talk about that.
I don't think I ever said I hate America.
Yes, you did. And
I hate America?
And it made me look at you even
when did
more.
I say I hate? Oh, in what context?
You said it earlier.
I don't think so. I think I said that I like America. I like America. I don't think MAGA people like America. I don't think you guys have any idea what it means to be American. I don't think you know what American values are. I don't think you know what this country was founded or built upon. And I think you guys are obsessed with a cult leader who is taking the entire Republican Party off of a cliff.
Everything he say he do. Trump is gangster. Remember.
Can you give me one thing you don't like about Trump?
What I don't like about him, I love everything about Trump.
I know, because it's a cult. Thank you.
It's not a cult.
I'm from cult.
No, it's not a cult. Everything is a cult if you want to think about it.
Okay.
Everything is a cult.
To somebody in a cult, that's probably true, yeah.
He's someone that's representing, and Kumala, whatever her name is, she out of here. Trump 2024.
All right.
Let's go.
Okay. Got it. Anything else, chat? All right. That's interesting.